Alright, so what is going on, everybody? It's your boy Swagner17. Today we're going to be going over my picks for Week 5 of the NFL season here. But before we do that, of course, we always recap what went down in Week 4. So Week 4 was my worst week of the year so far. I actually went 8-8 on my picks after going 12-4, 11-5, and 11-5. So that brings my record to 42 wins and 22 losses, I believe that calculates. So not too bad, but obviously we want to be able to get at least 13 right. That's the number I've been aiming for so far. So we can just do a quick recap of Week 4. Eagles, I don't know. They really should. The Packers should have won that game, let's be honest. Don't even want to talk about it. We got that wrong. Giants won, of course. We got that right. Chiefs won, but honestly, I mean, we got it right, but I think the Lions severely outplayed the Chiefs, and the Chiefs just ended up winning. So they remain undefeated, but I don't think that's going to stand for long because the Lions definitely played very well. Titans beat the Falcons, of course, so we got that correct. A little bit of an upset here. Browns beat the Ravens. Didn't really expect that. Did not expect the Raiders to play so well against the Colts. Jacoby Brissett, pick 6 at the end was detrimental. Patriots beat the Bills, of course, but just like the Lions-Chiefs games, the Bills really outplayed the Patriots. Bills should have won. They threw 4 interceptions when they could have had, 4 touchdowns. They stopped Tom Brady so many times, and they still lost. But we chose the Patriots, so we got that correct. Panthers beat the Texans. That was kind of an interesting game here. I got it wrong. I thought the Texans would play better. They've been kind of hit or miss, honestly. Chargers beat the Dolphins as we expected. Buccaneers, that was a pretty insane game. 95 total points. 55, I think that's the highest for Buccaneers of all time, so pretty crazy there. So I was happy the Buccaneers won because I just hate the Rams, but we got that wrong. Next up, the Cardinals lost to the Seahawks. I thought it was going to be a closer game, but Cardinals just did not play well. Vikings, of course they lost to the Bears because the Vikings are terrible. So we got that right. Jaguars beat the Broncos. Pretty crazy game. Jaguars, we got that right. And I bet against my team again, which I'm probably just going to continue doing it because I chose the Cowboys to win, and in my last video I said I'm going to choose the Cowboys, but I guarantee you the Saints are going to win. But I said if I choose the Saints, the Cowboys will probably win. So that's a pretty trend that I've noticed it's been going on. But next up, Steelers beat the Bengals. So that brought our score to 8-8 on the year. Or on the week, I should say. What did I say? 42-22 on the season, so not too bad. Now we move on over to Week 5, which we have some really tough games to pick here. Rams against the Seahawks. See, this is a really tough game for me. I think the Rams are a very good team, and obviously the Seahawks are as well. I'm just going to give the Seahawks the win because they're at home. I think these divisional games are... they're always good games. So I'm going to choose the Seahawks only because they're at home. But the Rams will probably win. But the Seahawks are my pick. Next up, Jets against the Eagles. Jets just came off a bye week, but I don't think it really matters. The Eagles should oh, man, that's actually tough. The Jets do have some playmakers on defense. And, I mean, what's his face? Carson Wentz is not that good at football. So I'm still going to choose the Eagles to win here, though. I think the Jets are in pretty bad shape. Next up, Jaguars against the Panthers. This is a really good game because we have 2 new faces at quarterback who are playing very good football. So it's really hard for me to choose this game. I think both teams have a really good defense and pretty solid quarterback play out of these 2 new guys. I think the Jaguars defense might be better, but I think Luke Kuechly overall is one of the best players playing in this game. I'll just give the Panthers a win because they're at home. Next up, Vikings against the Giants. Now, both of these teams, they're not very good at football. Giants don't have Saquon Barkley. Vikings are pretty bad at football. So I'm going to give the win to the Giants. I think the Viking struggles will continue. I think the Giants get the job done here. Next up, Falcons against the Texans. Falcons are, as well as the Vikings, are not very good at football. It's pretty apparent. The Texans, I think they're finally going to put some points on the board. Falcons' defense is actually really bad. I'm going to give the win to the Texans here. Next up, Buccaneers against my team, the New Orleans Saints. After a really good defensive performance by the Saints against the Cowboys, and the way the Buccaneers have been exposing teams, it's been pretty surprising. And they have a really good defense. Shaquille Barrett has 9 sacks already through 4 games. He's on record pace here, so that's pretty interesting. I think the Buccaneers will probably beat the Saints, but I'm only saying that because whatever my pick is for the Saints games, the opposite always happens. So I'm choosing the Buccaneers, hoping that the Saints win. Don't really care about that pick. Next up, Bills against the Titans. I'm going to choose the Titans only because they're at home. I think the Bills played very well last week on defense. That is, I think they can shut down Marcus Mariota, but Derrick Henry might have a big run, and the Titans win in a low-scoring game. Next up, we have 2 winless teams. Still don't have a win, either of these teams, but obviously, well, probably one of them will get a win unless they somehow tie. I'm going to choose the Cardinals to win here. I think the Cardinals are a good team. They just can't get a win, but I think it's time they get a win here. Next up, we have the blowout of the week, Patriots at the Redskins. I think the Patriots are going to score at least 50 points, and that's even with running the ball. I think the Redskins are really bad. I'm predicting a score of, well, maybe not 50, but I'm predicting at least like 40-10, at least a 30-point difference here. Patriots get the win, without a doubt. Next up, we have the Ravens against the Steelers. Now, this is one of the better games of the week. Both of these teams are pretty iffy this year so far. We can see them do a lot of good things. Steelers won last night, and Ravens just dropped 2 losses in a row. So, really, where do I stand here? I might just choose the Steelers because they're at home. I think they have a pretty good home field advantage, although they did already lose a home game this year. But I feel like their defense is actually really good. They got 8 sacks last night. I feel like Devin Bush is a rising star in the NFL. Steelers hold Lamar Jackson in check. Steelers get the win. Next up, Bears against the Raiders. Khalil Mack will sack Derek Carr at least 2 times, and the Bears will get the win. Next up, Broncos against the Chargers. This is going to be a good game. These divisional games are always pretty spicy. I think the Chargers are a better team. The Broncos did just suffer an injury at linebacker or defensive end, Bradley Chubb. That's pretty unfortunate for them. They do still have some leaders, Von Miller and Chris Harris, but I feel Joe Flacco's play is just not up to par. Phillip Rivers will lead his team to victory. I choose the Chargers. Next up, Packers against the Cowboys. We've seen so many games of these teams over the years. It's it's going to be an intense game. Packers, I think I'm going to give the Packers the win because they come off of a longer week. They played on Thursday Night Football, and now they travel to Dallas. And I think they've had plenty of time to rest, plenty of time to get pissed off after losing to the Eagles of all teams. So I think they're going to bring it right back to the same divisional opponent. Give the Cowboys a loss here. Packers win. Next up, Colts against the Chiefs. Sunday Night Football. That's going to be a pretty good game. I expect Jacoby Brissett to play good football. I expect the Chiefs to expose the Colts corners. Patrick Mahomes is going to have a field day. Chiefs are going to win in a pretty, I'd say, a 20-point victory, but it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think the Chiefs put up somewhere in the 40s. Colts probably in the 20s. Next up, and finally, we have the Browns against the 49ers on Monday Night Football. Now, the 49ers just came off a bye week. The Browns just come off of 2 straight wins. Who has the advantage here? I don't really know. I'm going to choose the Browns, okay? Now, that's a really bold pick here. I think the 49ers coming off of a bye. I mean, teams after a bye, you almost guarantee to win if you're facing a pretty average opponent. But I think the Browns, they're a really good team. And I think this is where the streak starts, and the Browns are going to get some wins. Browns win on Monday Night Football. Now, that is going to be it for my Week 5 picks. See if we can get... I don't think we're going to get 13 right. I think there's a lot of crazy games here. But I think my predictions are pretty good. Hopefully, we get at least 10 right. And that's going to be it for today's video. Hope you guys did enjoy. And let me know who you think is going to win down in the comments below. And until my next video, freaking deuces.